Evening hours at Kim FM. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good afternoon to the dear listeners of IKIM FM. You are tuning to Above and Beyond. I'm your host, Patricia Afrina. And in today's episode, we are going to listen to another life journey of an excellent student. In last week's episode, we listened to the story of a Hafiza who is pursuing a degree in law. And now, in this week's episode, we are featuring an aspiring student who is pursuing medicine. Well, she is a brilliant student, not only intelligent but also active in extracurricular activities, particularly in Taekwondo. She is a certified Taekwondo black belt holder and a recipient of the Top 20 Student Award in Life Science at the Center for Foundation Studies in Science, University Malaya. I welcome to the studio Daniella Rossellini. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Hello.
And how are you, Daniela?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. How about you?
I'm doing well, Alhamdulillah. And it is such a pleasure to have you in the studio with us today. So, dear listeners, our topic for today is striking success, the journey of an aspiring future doctor. And that aspiring future doctor that we are going to talk about is Daniella Rossellini. So, Daniela, before we start, could you first introduce a little bit about yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Daniella Rossellini binti Saifuzaman. I'm currently a second year student in Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, studying at University of Malaya, and I am from Kota Baru, Kelantan.
Mm-hmm. So, Daniela, there are lots of things we can talk about for today, but let us first start this episode by having you walk us through your life journey that defines who you are and how you got to where you are right now.
Okay. So, generally, we came to universities to studies, of course. So, I would love to address myself as a student. I'm a medical student, currently a second year. And as for side patient, I am currently actively involved in projects, be it as participants or committee, but mainly I am involved as the organizing committee. And also I play sports. I represent UM as an athlete, mainly in Taekwondo.
So, when did you first started with Taekwondo?
So I first started joining Taekwondo when I was 8 years old.
8 years old.
Yeah, I looked through my father's old pictures, and then I saw him wearing Taekwondo uniform, and that was the first time when I was introduced about Taekwondo. And then my brother and I just decided to give it a try, and suddenly it suits our heart, and we just start from there until now.
So it started from your father.
Yeah.
And then you and your brother saw the picture of your father about it, and then somehow you got interested to it.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So perhaps you can walk through us with that later. So first, can you share with us, as you mentioned that you are a medical student, right? So can you walk us through your daily life as a typical medical student?
My daily life as a medical student. So usually we'll have classes like from 8 to 5, or if they are generous enough, maybe 9 to 5. Yeah, it's a packed schedule, I would say. And then as a medical student, we revolve around biology, and biology, of course, requires a lot of memorization, and memorization requires a lot of repetition, and repetition is very time consuming.
Yes.
So I have to admit that it is a tough journey to keep up with the syllabus, since there's a lot of the content is very heavy and the pace is quite fast. So that's a deadly combination there, right? Yeah. So every day, just imagine like after you come back from class at 5, and then you have to revise the things that you learned today, and of course try to pre-read the lectures that you're going to attend tomorrow. So roughly that's our daily activities as a medical student.
So in average, how many subjects that you have to learn in a day?
Well, in University of Malaya, they are using block system, which subjects might differ from every blocks, but the basic subjects like physiology, immunology, are there for every blocks. So I would say 10 subjects every blocks. Yeah.
I still remember when I was young, my teacher asked the class who we would want to become when we grow up. And I recall that half of the class mentioned that they wanted to become a doctor, including myself actually. So becoming a doctor is many children's dream, and each of them has different reasons for why they want to become one. So I'm sure you two have your own reasons. So can you share with us what inspired you to pursue a career in medicine?
So actually, it's a long story on how I actually ended up here as a medical student. Honestly, being a doctor is not my first dream. So back in high school, I love subjects that involve calculations like physics, mathematics, additional mathematics. But I have to admit that I am always fascinated by the human anatomy. So as time goes by, as I try to discover myself more, I realized that I like to be connected to the community, meaning like I enjoy being
The sense of
in
helping people.
yeah when I'm with the community, I there's a sense of satisfaction and happiness for me. So that's when I realized that I along my life I try to keep on to this one principle, which is the best of people is the one who give the greatest benefits to others. Yeah, that's from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So that is actually the turning point when I am finally sure that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
MashaAllah. And of course, medical students' interests and experiences frequently impact the decision to pursue a specialization. So, have you selected which specialty you want to pursue? And if so, what drew you to that specific field?
I see. So honestly, it's still quite early for me to decide on that. Currently, I'm in my second year. As we are entering our third year, then only we will have clinical postings every day, which there will be rotations. Like for example, this week maybe you're in the pediatrics, then next month maybe in orthopedics department. Actually, how you choose your specialty, it really much depends on your personality because different departments, it requires people with different personalities. Because like psychology department, they have different approach on how to build rapport with your patient. Well, maybe surgery department, they have different approach. And I am still not sure what my personality really fits, but I do have interest to pursue in surgery.
Surgery.
Yeah, because I feel like it's very interesting on how you dissect every layer until you found the thing that you want to dissect or fix something. Yep.
It is
It
that.
is more hands-on compared to other department.
And that it is that curiosity to the anatomy of human.
Yeah.
So going back to the previous question when I asked about your what inspired you to pursue a career in medicine, did you receive any pressure or expectations from anyone?
Oh, yep, of course. Talking about pressures, actually, I can divide pressures into a few types, with the first one being the external pressure.
External pressure.
Yeah, external pressure may be pressure from your peers or your families. As for peers, we know that everyone has different capabilities. Some of them are just very good at memorizing. Some of them are just very good at picking up in classes. Some are naturally a good speaker, and some are very fluent in clinical practice. Sometimes when you are surrounded with these overachievers people, you might feel inferior. Yep. And it takes time for you to actually find your own strength and appreciate what you have. So that's pressure from peers. As for family, I am grateful that I don't really have a heavy pressure from my family. They just hope that I'm doing fine in academics. Yeah, as long as I'm happy with what I'm doing, then they're fine. But the internal pressure, which is from ourselves, is what I consider much heavier than external pressure, I would say. Because some people, they have expectations on themselves.
Yes.
Yep. And especially for someone who always be on top of the class, maybe they are not used to losing or being not good enough or being as good as where they were before. So that is something for us to have a good mentality, because when we are at lowest point of our life, we only have ourselves and our mentality.
Yes.
Yep. So as for me, I won't say I'm at the top of the class, just maybe just average, but sometimes things just gets rough, and that is when my patience, my patient and patient is tested. Yeah.
So did you pressure yourself when initially thinking of pursuing your study in medicine?
Of course, when we do something, we wish we could do as best as we could, but the journey is not a straight, smooth journey. It's a
Yes.
bumpy road, right? Yeah. This is actually something that is very underrated, but most people, they don't really emphasize that failures is also a part of success.
Yes.
It is also a part of the long journey, and people rarely talk about this. So, in order to achieve success, we have to face the failures. Have you ever heard of people saying, "You never lose. It's either you win or you learn"?
Yes.
Yeah. So I do face failures many times, even until now. But every time that happens, I just try to keep myself
What's it
to
stay?
stand again, and you have to find a good support system in order to survive in these days.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And listening to it, what I can observe 2 points that we can see here. So the first one is the peers. So you have to be mindful of those who you surround yourself with. If you have a negative peers, then it will affect you and it give you a
True.
negative outcome. But if you surround yourself with good people, with positive people, inshallah, it will influence you to become a successful, or at least has positive influence into your life. And the second thing that I could observe from your sharing just now is the expectation onto yourself. And just now you mentioned about how you perceive your failure. Whenever we face, everyone in this world, in fact, face experience failure, even though different the type of failure or the level scale of failure may be differ from one another, but still we experience failure, and it is very important for us to know how we should navigate through this failure. Of course, failure will put us some setback, but we have to think of ways on how we can overcome it, right? And it takes time because, of course, it is easier said than done, but at least you need to try.
Yeah.
Need to try and overcoming that failure. And going to the next question, every education has its struggles and challenges, but medical school is specifically known for its intense workload and stress. And just now you mentioned in the early of the conversation, it requires a lot of memorization, and that by itself take a lot of time, right? So from your own personal experience as a second year medical student, what has been the most challenging aspect of your medical education so far?
The most challenging aspect, I think that would be time management.
Time management.
Yeah, because as a normal human being, you don't always have interest in, okay, even though you love study, but you don't always love study, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so sometimes you will opt for maybe entertainment, or maybe you
Mm-hmm.
want to do sports, but somehow medicine sort of like force you to study 24 hours if you want to excel.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is the most challenging part of medical school. But of course there are more challenges, like as you step into degree life,
Mm-hmm.
the treatment that you receive from your teachers is very different from my previous level of foundation or high school. Like in degree life, they treat you as adult.
Yes.
I do understand, because they want to insert the professionalism in us as we are
Mm-hmm.
stepping into a professional career.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a very drastic transition, I would say. Yeah, and it requires a lot of self learning and self discipline to keep
Yes.
yourself on track every time.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you mentioned that, being in medicine force you to study 24/7 to the point that I'm sure there has been a point where you have to miss out some hangout session with your friends. So have you ever experienced that fear of missing out from other people?
Yeah, there's actually a phrase. It's a Gen Z phrase, maybe.
FOMO.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I I do have that fear of missing out,
Mm-hmm.
but it is something for me to treat for my future.
Mm.
So
So during this time, you want to focus on the study.
yeah, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that I can't hang out at all. It's just that I have to aware of my situation, and I have
Mm-hmm.
to really arrange my study time, time when I have trainings,
Mm-hmm.
and time when I have meetings, and time to study.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times when I have to reject the invitation to hang out. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess that's life, and that's the price you pay for your future.
Mm-hmm. So means that you cannot have everything in this world.
Yeah.
Okay, so listeners, do leave your thoughts and comments onto this conversation. You can do so by leaving it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/ikimfm, and also through our YouTube, youtube.com/at ikimfm_ny. So we will go for a short break, and once we come back later, we will listen more from Daniella onto this conversation, striking success, the journey of an aspiring future doctor. So don't change the radio station. Stay tuned to IKIM FM, inspirasi utama anda. Welcome back, listeners. Just now, before we go for break, we listen sharing from Daniella Rossellini on today's conversation, Striking Success, the journey of an aspiring future doctor. And just now, before we went for a break, we listened to Daniella sharing about her typical day as a medical student, and also how does she handle with pressure and also expectation from people on relating to becoming a medical student. And now, going to the next question, I would like to ask you, how do you cope with the stress and also pressure that comes with studying medicine?
Um, I feel like most of people need motivation in their life.
Hmm.
And if I were to answer that with one word, I would say family. So, um, personally, there are times where when I face failures, maybe when you feel disappointed with yourself, you feel like you're not good enough.
Mm.
And that's when um, other people matters. Sometimes I do face sometimes when I don't really love myself, but it's the love for my family that keeps me going. I
Mm.
feel the responsibility to repay them for, like taking care of me since we were born until now. So it is something for it is something that I hold on to every time I face failures.
Mm. And of course, having a strong support system is crucial. And listen to it. I'm sure that your parents are your biggest supporters. So, other than that, who also support you during your medical journey?
As we talked about just now, it is very important to surround yourself with good people.
Mm.
So back in my college, I do have some good friends that will always give you advices about life, about your studies, and sometimes when you face failures, you don't have the strength to think positively or
Mm.
sanely, and that is the moment where other people matters in your life because
Mm.
you can't live alone, you can't live independently.
So, they are the one who keep you in track.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
correct. So it's really important for you to, besides having a good and strong mentality towards yourself, you also have to have someone that you trust that will try to remotivate you when
Yes.
life knocks you down.
Mm. Are there resources or activities that help you in going through that times?
I would say sports.
Sports.
Yep. So I'm involved in taekwondo since I was child,
Mm.
and the reason why I am still into it until now is because the feelings of satisfaction when you play sports. Well, it is already scientifically proven, but when I play sports, it sort of give me an escape, a short escape from the world,
Mm.
when you can do anything you can without thinking about your life problem,
Yes.
and you sort of um, you can get rid of your life problem and you can focus on other things.
Mm.
So, and beside making it as the mechanism to relieve your stress, it also develop your personal characteristics, meaning like you develop your discipline or time management in that. And I do have to admit that after sessions of training,
Mm.
sometimes it gives you a new idea to something because you sort of open up your view to the outer world where you
Ah,
meet other people. It means like you don't
you
stick
can.
to your studies.
Mm.
You meet new friends, other people, so you are open to new ideas and new perspective.
So in a way, it was also a form of socializing.
Yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting because you use sport as a healthy distraction, I would say. So for some people, they read books, for some, they watch movies, but for you, you play sport. And in that playing sport, you also use it as a form of socializing with other people. Going to the next question, as mentioned in many previous episodes, time management plays a crucial role in the success of a student's education journey. Even from my own personal experience, your study year isn't only limited to studying. As you begin to live by yourself, you need to balance when to study, when to socialize, when to be active in extracurricular activities, and etc. So, since different students have different ways to manage their time, I would like to ask you, Daniela, as someone who is active in extracurricular activities, how do you manage to balance your studies and also personal time?
Honestly, I feel like I'm doing the most basic thing, but somehow I'm still surviving, and I
Mhm.
hope I will still survive soon. So every day when I woke up from sleep, I would do like a checklist of things that I have to get it done by today,
Mhm.
and what I need to get it done by tomorrow, this week, or for the whole month. And I rely on myself to keep track of the progress. And for the rest of it, I just go with the flow and try to meet the deadline for every task.
Mm.
But to obey that checklist, I have to emphasize that you have to have a good productivity, which
Mm.
comes from your sleep. So I would like to emphasize that it's important to have a good sleep. Maybe try to have a consistent bedtime.
Mm.
So every people have different sleep hours. Maybe if usually if you sleep at 12 and you wake up at 6, just try to maintain that time. Try to go in bed at 12 and wake up at around 6 every day,
Mhm.
because it will give you sort of extra energy. It will recharge yourself and will lead you to have a healthier life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've heard this before when people say that actually it's not about the quantity time of sleep that you have, but it's actually depends on the quality of sleep. So when talking about quality of sleep, that doesn't necessarily means that you need to have 8 hours of
Yeah.
sleep every single day. Well, actually, it's about the quality of sleep. And how do you get that quality of sleep? So one of the ways is to by having a consistent time
Yeah.
when you go to bed. And another one is, of course, some people dim the light, and then some even
Yes.
meditate before they go to sleep. So this is actually by having a consistent time of when you go to bed can also help you in having a quality sleep. I would like to go back into in the earlier conversation. We talk about your passion in taekwondo, so let's go deep into that. The discipline and also a resilience required in taekwondo can offer valuable lessons. So what are some key lessons that you have learned from taekwondo that have helped you in your medical studies?
There are actually a few lessons. Most of them are revolving around respect and discipline itself.
Respect and
So
discipline.
yeah, as
Mm-hmm.
for respect, um, there's like a certain things that you have to obey in taekwondo. Like you have to come on time, or there will be like extra exercises that you have to do,
Ah.
and then you have to consistent in training, or else you will lose your momentum, and that will give you a setbacks in taekwondo when it comes to competition.
Mm.
um, and as for discipline, if you are not consistent in every training, you will your performance will.
I mean, it influenced the quality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it is really important for you to be consistent and also have a good sense of respect in taekwondo. And even in ring, they have like when you face your opponent, you have to bow to them. So it teach you sportsmanship. For example, like when you lose, you can't just simply rage. Yeah, it teach you the reality of life, that you don't always win. Life is not always good, but you have choices whether to improve or you want to stop there. Yeah, so this is actually something that I indirectly learn and can relate it to my medical life.
And you know, so the 2 points we get here is first respect and second is discipline. And talking about the discipline, right? I'm sure not just in taekwondo but also in any other activities like silat and
Yeah.
karate, right? Because we are talking about skill here, and when skill involve discipline plays a crucial role in it. So now, furthering, I would like to bring forward this conversation. Now that you are 21 years old,
Yeah.
right? I'm sure you have observed a lot in life, even at the very young age. So when talking about younger generation, I understand that we have ideas on how we can change the world. So from your own experience and also observations of things happening around the world, how is this shaping your mindset on how you want to go through your life?
So different generation, they have different mindsets. As things goes by, everything gets more modern. So of course we have different approach from every generation. And as for my generation, maybe the approach is a bit different, but on how I want to advance in life, I prefer the way where you try to engage with the society, but it's really up to you, because as for me personally, my sense of happiness comes from that source. Yeah. So I just love to see people happy or just simply smile. So I will just try to do anything I can to ease other people's life. So as I am already in the medical field, I will just try to do my best to succeed and utilize my knowledge and skills one day to help people by healing them.
Mashallah, this is very good to listen to that. Um, Now I want to ask, remember in the early of the conversation, we talk about your parents becoming your number one supporter. Are there any pieces of advice from your parents or someone significant in your life that you are holding on to until now?
Um, Piece of advice. Maybe from my mother, maybe she just said, always do kindness, because when you stick to that, Allah will always ease your journey, and there's no harm in doing kindness. And even if you face hardships when you're going through a journey where you aim to do kindness, there's always the bright side of it. During my degree life, I achieved a few huge achievements. And when people who are close to me, which the only one who know about this story, when they say, your father must be proud of you. Yeah, actually, every
Yes.
time I listen to that, it gives me a sense of happiness and satisfaction, because I know that I won't be able to hear that from him anymore. So listening people saying that to me, it sort of convinces me that maybe I still can contribute as a child, even if he's not here anymore. Yeah.
Inshallah, you can. That's very touching to hear. So Let us change a bit, shift this conversation a bit, going back to the conversation about university years. I still remember mine. If I were to describe it as a young girl coming from a suburban area school, I would say it was a life changing experience, especially in how I perceived the world. As I began to communicate with people from different backgrounds, I was shocked to learn how various ideologies people hold, even on the same issue. And that is when I began to realize this, and I started to read and talk more to other people, and it was something unforgettable to me, and I'm sure you too have similar experience. So share with us, what are some of the most unforgettable memories from your university life?
As for good memories, I think it's the one that I mentioned just now. Yep. Um, when people say that your parents must be proud of you, that gives me a huge happiness already.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And as for bad experience, maybe my experience in my clinical days. Yep. Clinical days is when you go in hospital and try to be like a real doctor. Yeah.
Mm.
So there are times when maybe I was less prepared or less prepared about that topic or something like that. But when I fail to sort of diagnose or understand the sickness of the patient, it somehow gives me um, sadness. Yeah, because I feel like I am not able to help people.
Mm.
Yeah. So, but um, I took that as something that boosts my enthusiasm to study more, because I believe as a doctor, patient will always trust you.
Yes.
So you have to be prepared to help them.
So how does this experience leave a mark in your heart?
Yeah, after clinical days that sort of let me down, I usually will reflect myself back, and that is when I reflect my daily life. Is there something that I'm lacking of my daily life?
Mm.
Am I doing good enough, or do I study in the wrong way?
Mm.
So after every bad days, that is actually the turning point when I change something in my lifestyle, in my daily activities. That is when I reflect back. Maybe I do wrong in the way I study. Maybe I do wrong in the way I revise. So that's when I try to look back on it and change how I study, or how I understand my patients.
Mm-hmm. So it's very good that you didn't let that demotivate you, but instead, you tried to think back, to reflect about it back, and think of how you could improve yourself. And that's very good to hear it. And Daniela, as we are reaching the end of this conversation, let's close it by giving some advice to our listeners out there, especially those who are interested in pursuing a study in medicine.
Okay. A more specific advice for medicine. Um, love yourself, find your strength, and work on it. You are here because you are something to the world. You are capable of something. Just maybe you haven't figured out what's your strength, but you will do one day.
Mm.
And special for EKIM listeners out there. Do you know Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the former UFC lightweight champion. So there's this one time when he said, non-Muslims, they don't read Quran, they read you. So
Mm,
be a good ambassador of Islam.
yes.
So to everyone, especially students, since right now we are in our degree days, we are surrounded by a multiracial community. It matters how you behave, so try to be a good role model,
Mm-hmm.
especially a good role model of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, dear listeners, that
Yep.
is Daniella Rossellini on today's conversation, striking success, the journey of an aspiring future doctor. And in this conversation, we listen to Daniella sharing on her life journey, on where she is right now. She shared with us about the challenges, the pressure that she went through, and also how she overcome it. And in also in the conversation she also shared how taekwondo have helped her in going through her medicine study. And so we hope that today's conversation will be inspiring and also beneficial to those who are listening to us either through radio or through social media, Facebook and also YouTube. And with that being said, I would like to thank Daniela for sharing. So with that being said, Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
And dear listeners, if you missed any part of the show or would like to watch it again, you can watch it through our Facebook page, facebook.com/ikimfm, and also through our YouTube, youtube.com/@ikimfm_my. So don't forget to tune in to us next week for more conversations. So stay tuned to Ikim FM, Inspirasi Utama Anda.